When exercising power, the government is wise on who they should exercise it over. Normally, a good choice would be those who society would deem evil or similar to that. This is an example of it perfectly. Scott, who wrote Burn Old Fella day after Captain Tom died, guilty of sending sick tweet. Now, the tweet in question was, the only good Brit soldier is a deed one. Burn old fella, burn. They had to accentuate the burn as it was multiple use. Scott Troll has been found guilty over a sick tweet about Captain Sir Tom Moore. Obviously, everyone knows who he is. He did laps for, I think it was a charity. Great man. I was under the illusion, so he became a Sir because of it. And great man. Joseph Kelly, way out of line for this. Obviously, the only good soldier's a dead one. You can probably tell what he believes. But anyway, Joseph Kelly, 36, appeared in court charged under the under. What the hell is that sentence? Appeared in court charged under the under Communications Act. Is it under or is it over? Gee, pick one. Of a grossly offensive tweet. There he is there. Normally I wouldn't stop to post, but he's a terrible man, so there again. He sent the tweet on February 3rd, February 3 even, I guess, the day after the NHS hero and World War II veteran died. Kelly of Glasgow was found guilty of calling for the war hero to burn after he tragically passed away. He admitted posting the the tweets on his account, but denied breaching communication laws. But he was found guilty by Sheriff Adrian Cottam after a trial at Lanark Sheriff Court. I feel now it's a good time to talk about the morality of whether he should have been prosecuted or not. Personally, I think he shouldn't have been. Just because you don't like what someone's saying doesn't mean they can't say it. And the government is very smart doing this, as not that many people will defend him, because what he said is so disgusting. Most people would rather turn a blind eye. It's like the Rosa Parks thing. Rosa Parks was not the first woman to do what she did, to refuse to sit at the back of the bus. It was another woman prior to her, but the woman was single mother, not exactly the kind of person you'd want to be a herald of. Obviously, Black Lives Matter ignored that part of trying to build a movement, but generally people who are undesirable for a movement will sort of be ignored by it, even if they're doing the right thing. The government is relying heavily on people to do the same here. Obviously, terrible man, terrible thing they said, but should not be arrested for it. Kelly, who was reprimanded by the sheriff for laughing as he sat in the dock, did not give any evidence during the trial. Jesus. Just refuses to give evidence. The charge, to be fair, you're on the defense. You don't really need to give evidence. It's the prosecution that gives evidence. The charge in the Communications Act alleges that Kelly made a post to the public using social media that was grossly offensive or of an indecent, obscene, or menacing character, and that did utter offensive remarks about Captain Sir Tom Moore, now deceased. Now, obviously, we've got multiple accusations there. Grossly offensive. It's not up for a court to decide what is offensive. And grossly, that's entirely... what if it's just offensive? What then? So obviously that one shouldn't be used in a court of law. Or of an indecent... Again, indecent, no nudity, so that's the only way you could count indecent without it being completely arbitrary. Obscene or menacing character. Wasn't that menacing? Let's just go back up to him, but it doesn't look that menacing to me. And obscene. Again, obscene changes depending on who you ask. And that did utter offensive remarks. So this does seem like, oh, he just hurt my feelings, so now we're going to arrest him. The hearing was told Kelly of Castlemilk, Kelly of Castlemilk, Jesus. Scotland is a weird place. Glasgow spoke to a neighbour and said he regretted posting the tweet, which was condemned by social media users. Lucy Jeffrey, 51, said she had spoken to Kelly in the aftermath of his message being posted last February. She said, I was kind of shocked when I saw the tweet. Fair enough, that's pretty tame. The gentleman in question had done so much to raise awareness and funds for the NHS in England. I mean, to be fair, I'd be pretty shocked if me mate just started posting that sort of stuff, so that's fair. I spoke to Joseph about it, and I can't remember word for word, but he said I have done a lot of stupid things in my time, but that is one of the worst. And he said he regretted it, and it was just a spur-of-the-moment thing. I don't know about that. How do you just... spur-of-the-moment things aren't normally... Well, I'll think about this tweet. I'll type the tweet. I'll then post the tweet. I'll then not delete the tweet. But it really doesn't seem like it. It seems like he meant it. He's got done in for it. Oh, I kind of need me meter bills out. So I don't believe he feels sorry for it. Maybe sorry he got caught, but I was afraid of retaliation over it, and so was he, because addresses were being shared online about it. So that leads me to believe people were getting doxxed. Prosecutors insisted Kelly had broken communication laws. I keep hearing the word reading Kelly, and I'm thinking it's some last of broken, but it's not. It's just his dodgy name. And that the tweet was grossly offensive. Deputy Fiscal Liam Haggart said Captain Tom Moore had become something of a celebrity owing to his age and work he had done to support the NHS. If Mr. Kelly had been standing at Lanark Cross and had begun shouting these comments, then there would have been little difficulty in breach of the peace charges being brought against them. Now, that is interesting. The idea that they would go for a breach of the peace charge, not because of what he's saying, but because of the fact that he's shouting it. That's interesting, because that's sort of admitting, if it was allowed, there's really nothing we could do. Breach of peace, for anyone not in the UK, is basically what they'll arrest you for if they've got nothing else. It's well, you've inconvenienced somebody, possibly, maybe, probably not, but we're going to arrest you for it because it's a law. It's a rubbish law. I don't know. It was probably just a power grab. I'm not too knowledgeable in history, but it's a rubbish law. It's the last resort of any dodgy officer. Freedom of expression does not justify him making this post. No, but it does protect him making the post. He doesn't actually need justification. That's really just an optional thing. Plus, I think the option or the justification would be that he doesn't like the soldiers. That'd probably be the justification for that. This was a tweet designed to be offensive. Did he say that, or are you prescribing that to him? I mean, it wasn't designed to be offensive if he genuinely believes it. Then it was just his general opinions. In my view, well, it doesn't particularly matter your view. Hang on, who is this? Oh, this is Fiscal. Such a stunning. Right, so this is Fiscal. Where was it? This tweet was designed to view grossly offensive, which takes it beyond the necessary threshold. It's interesting that this is being said by Liam, a deputy, that we'd arrest him under breach of the peace, and that freedom of expression does not justify him making the post. That's a bit alarming. That, first of all, they'd think the defence would be that freedom of expression would justify it, and not that it's protected by it. Deputy Fiscal Liam Haggart, despite having a funny name, seems to be a bit of a dodgy fella. But his legal team argued prosecution had not established a case against him and that it infringed on his freedom of expression, which it absolutely did. Cameron Smith, defending advocate, said, "This tweet does not cross the threshold into criminality." Personally, I don't know whether it does. It probably does know in Scotland, but I think the better question is, should it? And of course, the answer to that I'd say would be no, it shouldn't. It is unpleasant and it is unsavoury, but it is not grossly offensive. And this is the problem, because what does grossly offensive mean? If we Google, in fact, I'll Google, this was unplanned, but I'll Google grossly offensive. There we go. What does grossly offensive mean? The CPS then seeks to define grossly offensive, at least in the negative, as such cases are more than. Okay, well, there's pretty divergent, but I feel like it's fairly important to understand. This is UK human rights. So, offensive, shocking or disturbing, satirical or iconoclastic or rude comment, or rude. Wait, yeah, offensive cases which are more than. Oh, so this is more than the expression of. So these would be what is protected. It's right there. Go. It's offensive, shocking, and disturbing. It needs to be more than. So probably yeah. UK law, though Scottish law is different. But generally, grossly offensive, no definition, because it is entirely dependent on your personal opinion, and a law shouldn't be dependent on who's prosecuting. That is a very high bar, and I say the Crown have not got over that bar in these proceedings. And that's what happens when the bar really doesn't exist. It doesn't exist, but they're pretending as if there is a bar, and they're prosecuting people depending on their pretends, really. Tweet was grossly offensive. Well, wait, what? So thank you for the Sun for your personal opinion. Sheriff Cotton said, I'm of the view that the focus of the tweet was not on the British Army or soldiers, but on the man pictured. Well, it was both, because he said that he wants them all dead. Well, he said that they're better off dead. So I don't see how you could come to that opinion unless you were trying to prosecute someone and had to sort of steady what you were saying towards that prosecution. Captain Sir Tom Moore, who had become a national hero during the early stages of the pandemic. The timing of the tweet makes the comment not only offensive, but grossly offensive. They keep saying grossly offensive, but it means nothing. Whenever somebody says grossly offensive in a legal term, it just means I didn't like it. That's generally the way to go. So, frankly, from now on, I am just going to swap the two. So we'll start this sentence again. The timing of the tweet makes the comment not only offensive, but I didn't like it, and what the accused chose to write can only be described as that. The prosecution does interfere with freedom of expression, but it is a necessary interference. Brilliant. Set in stone. We will violate your rights, but only if we deem it necessary. So you don't have rights. That's an admission. You can't have a right to freedom of expression if it can be violated at any time. That is perfect, actually. That is perfect. The prosecution does interfere with freedom of expression, but is a necessary interference. That couldn't be more perfect. Frankly, I think that. Frankly, I think they've got them there. This was Sheriff Cotton. So yeah, absolutely. All done and dusted. We've got them. That's all we really needed at that point. Anyway, I'll continue on in case we get more gold. Sentence was deferred. Sorry about the cough, and my throat is killing. Sentence was deferred on Kelly until March of reports, and his bail was continued. Sir Tom, who helped raise more than 32 million for the NHS during the first national lockdown, died from coronavirus and pneumonia last February, aged 100. Lost my place. He won the nation's heart by walking 100 laps of his garden in Bedfordshire during the first lockdown, raising money for NHS charities together. The Queen knighted him during a special ceremony in the grounds of Windsor Castle in 2020. That appears to be the end of the article. Yes. So obviously, just a quick go over. Do I think it was shocking that he said it? Yes. Do I think that he should have been arrested? No. And this will happen a lot more as more people talk out against heroes of the country. Those people will be dealt with. And I think the highlight of the article was this one. The prosecution does interfere with freedom of expression, but it is a necessary interference. Even in this example, that right, there's two separate videos here. You probably noticed the last one ended abruptly. Turns out the editing software I use takes like 5 seconds off the end of a video. I don't know why. I didn't know that until now. But to sort of compensate for the lack of ending, I've decided I'm going to put two videos in one. What you watched was the video that was going to come out Thursday, and what you're going to watch in the rest of the video is going to be the one that was coming out today, or Tuesday, as you watch this. I hope it's not too conflicting, I guess. But they're both generally about the same thing. But yeah, that's about it. Enjoy the rest of the video. Billy Connolly is, of course, a comedian. I doubt we're all strangers to him. And similar to all comedians, or a lot of comedians even, he's facing the issue of rising pressures, as in what is acceptable to say and what is not. Certainly upon TV, as there are a lot of people, as we'll get into with this article, who really cannot take a joke. Of course, this begs the question is why they're watching a comedian, but we'll get to that. Billy Connolly, of course, in case you don't know who he is, he played the main antagonist in Garfield, A Tale of Two Kitties. This is what's got him big. It started his career, at least in my opinion. But anyway, Billy Connolly declared by Ofcom over documentary joke, shock is intrinsic part of comedy. Now, probably thinking, what is the joke he made? Well, the 79-year-old has been a staple to the stand-up comedy scene for decades. However, a recent series of complaints against a Scottish comedian could have landed him in hot water if they had stuck with the government-approved regulatory Ofcom. Government approved there. As you can see, he was cleared of it, so nothing negative is coming towards him for it. But it's the idea that somebody, well, actually, we'll get into that over time. Over the last few years, Sir Billy Connolly has taken a step back from his historic, busy lifestyle of gigs and travel. In his recent documentary, Billy Connolly, My Absolute Pleasure, the star talked about his battle with Parkinson's disease and why he wanted a slower pace of life. However, this documentary sparked two fans to complain to the regulatory giant over his joke about a cat getting run over. Due to the complaints, the regulatory had to look over the segment of the programme, but luckily for Sir Billy, Ofcom ruled in his favour. That is correct. 2 people complained. It wasn't a large amount of people, but the idea that you can get investigated by the government, as Ofcom is run by the government, for a joke complained by 2 people is a little dodgy. We'll get further on. The complainers took issue with a story about a cat the comedy legend had heard from Irish actor Liam Neeson. The comedic tale is about a man who accidentally hit a cat while driving through the Highlands, which the actor said happened in 1995 while working on the film Rob Roy. It's very encouraging that you can take reality and dress it up and make people fall about laughing, the Daily Record reported. Shock is an intrinsic part of comedy. The shock of the punchline from nowhere just gets people. They love it. A spokesperson from Ofcom commented, "We had 2 animal welfare complaints on this related to a joke about a cat being run over. After careful assessment, Ofcom has decided not to pursue the complaints because they did not raise issue warranting investigation." Well, they already did kind of investigate, though, okay. On the Position News, comedy fan at Fume Fox tweeted, "It's a great story and who better to tell it? People need to get a life and stop being offended, and do at Ofcom have to investigate when 2 people complain?" Sir Billy Connolly cleared by Ofcom after complaints about a joke in recent ITV documentary. At Aisha McLover, these are Scottish surnames, sorry, so it's a bit difficult to pronounce, added her concerns for comedians to complaints that warrants a review. Comedians have no chance these days. Now, living his more relaxed pace of life in the Florida Keys, he has previously spoken out about how he doesn't feel he would make it as a comedian if he started out now, due to his fearless content. Talking to a radio station about if he would be cancelled in his current climate, he previously said, absolutely, you can't decide to be fearless, you're either fearless or you're not, and you go about it. Because of political correctness, people have pulled in the horns, but I don't know how I feel about that. I couldn't have started today with the talent I had, then certainly not. Feeling the toll of his Parkinson's, Sir Billy retired from stand-up comedy in 2018. But yeah, absolutely true. What you can say and what you can't say has been drastically decreased in society. With comedians being investigated all over. Although you still get comedians such as Seth Rogen, who will defend the idea that you can't say certain things to their deaths. And of course, in time, they will absolutely be cancelled for the very things that they try to cancel others for. There was that comedian, don't know his name. I don't know his name, but he attacked Ricky Gervais. He attacked Ricky Gervais for making offensive jokes. Of course, if you go in his history, he also made offensive jokes. So the amount of hypocrisy of comedians attacking other comedians for offensive jokes is astounding. But yeah, Billy Connolly, he was cleared, so nothing bad has actually happened. And that's about it. Quick one today. Still got no outro, so try.